Welcome to my place. My name is Goody, co-founder of that little cookie in the bag, that snack you didn't know you were waiting for, Goody's Granola. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman I met maybe 50 some odd years ago in college, Westmar College in LeMars, Iowa. We reconnected on Facebook, and it's like we never left each other. It's unbelievable what we've been talking about. He's an artist. He's an excellent artist. Pilot, planes, helicopters, sculptures, oil paintings. I want to introduce to you Mr. Entrepreneur Artist Rick Beaucher. Rick, say hello, buddy.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
All right, my man. How have you been, man?
I've been great, man. Just living the dream, living in South Florida. Nasty day out there, about 75 degrees, sunny with a nice ocean breeze.
Well, I woke up today, it was like 22 degrees, I think, here. It was
Yeah, well, good for you.
32 degrees, whatever it was low. But we reconnected and we discussed stuff. And this gentleman has lived and is living, not finished yet, thank God.
Yeah,
Quite an extraordinary life. And we want to get a little talk about him. And before Westmore, I want to get some background on you.
okay.
You know, eh, what brought you to Westmore? How were you growing up? How family life, if you want to get into that,
Okay.
and you're on, brother. Take it
All
away.
right.
This is now your place. Go.
All right. Well, I grew up in a little town on the North Shore of Boston called Stoneham. Very diverse area. Um, you were white and you were the Protestant or you were Catholic. I was on the Catholic one and spent 8 years in parochial school learning about all the good stuff, um, and absolutely hated school. I just never fit. It just didn't jive with me, but I did the best I could. Uh, Went to public high school where they had an art department and just blossomed, loved it. Did 2 years and got transferred to another Catholic institution, Austin Preparatory School, where they had no art department.
Why did you go to this particular school? What was the transfer? Why?
Well, it was actually the same connection that brought me to Westmar. My mom was part of the cocktail generation, and you lived through your kids. Your kids were part of your success. So my aunt, who had a degree that my mom always looked up to, had two daughters in a women's prep school. So my mom thought it would be a great idea for me to go to prep school. I had had problems, disciplinary problems at the high school, Stoneham High, because I was always in the art department. Didn't go to gym, didn't go to study hall. I'd go to the art department and just work and
So they
thrive.
transferred you to a school that didn't have art for that.
Yeah, so she transferred me to Austin Prep, which had no art department. Um, I grew up in a family that they were manufacturers, machine shop, engineers, this type of thing. So when it was came time to look for, what are you going to be in your life? This was the normal practice for the Beaucher clan. And being an artist was just not in the picture. Wonderful hobby, you're very good at it, have fun with it, but get a freaking job. When you
Crazy. And it's in your DNA, art.
yeah,
The
yeah.
people that I've had these Zooms with, it's in their DNA. They can't help it. No
No,
matter.
I couldn't. I didn't fit into in at school. There was no table for me in the cafeteria, you know. I wasn't a jock. I wasn't a nerd. I wasn't into these other things. So I just did not belong. And I didn't learn that way. I learned as an artist by doing, by observing, by experiencing. So Austin Prep, one good thing about Austin Prep, my first day there, I was introduced to marijuana, which was kind of cool. I'm like, okay, this might work. I was riding my little Honda 90 to school back and forth, my little zipper, and did my 2 years there. And that was cool. Thought I was over, but then it was time for me to consider what I was going to do. And I had no clue. I had no encouragement to pursue an art career. So I was deer in the headlights. I had no idea how to even approach or think about something like this. Um, so, my mom said, well, I think you ought to go to college. I think it'd be a great thing. Plus, it's good for her cocktail parties. Oh, my son's in school. So I went to the college clearinghouse in Boston, and he said, hey, I have a great school for you. What would you prefer? East Coast, West Coast? I said, it doesn't matter. He says, good. I'm gonna put you in Iowa, WESTMAN College. Okay. Okay.
Well, I just want to interrupt here because I had a similar experience with that.
Yeah.
I was a terrible student in high school. I was getting high all the time and
Yeah.
dropped out of high school. Me and two friends of mine, we dropped out of high school in our senior years, joined the Army. I wanted to fly helicopters. I had a passion for flying. I wanted to become a warrant officer. An Air Force captain tells me a life expectancy of a helicopter pilot in Vietnam is 3 missions. So I said, fuck,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to school. And the problem that I had, which I found out in my 40s, I have dyslexia, and I didn't know what I was reading. I didn't know, I couldn't, like when I went to the Hebrew school, I couldn't read English, and then it thrown me into reading Hebrew.
Oh,
Never went to that school either.
yeah.
I went to the school in New Hampshire called Nathaniel Hawthorne. And I got in there, and it was basically, took out a loan. It was basically a lot of rich kids there. And stipulation was 2.5 average. You get anything lower, you're out. I got a 2.3. I'm 2/10 of a point away. And I'm saying, listen, I never studied and I got a 2.3. To me, that's an amazing. Well, that's too fucking bad. You're
Yeah.
out.
You're
So I
gone.
went, I think, to the same guy in Boston,
Yeah.
said, where do you want to go? I said, I want to go out to California. He said, they won't touch you with a 10-foot pole. You're going to Iowa. You're going to Westmar College. Does it WESTMAR? Find it on the map. I go, where the fuck is Iowa? I have no idea what Iowa was.
Yeah.
And it was, anyway, that's very similar experience with that. And I'm sorry I took some of your time away. But
No, no worries. But yeah,
oh,
the
brother.
same thing, man.
Oh my
You
God.
know?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, I wouldn't have met you if we didn't go,
That's right.
if I didn't go, if both of us didn't go to this guy in Boston. I think
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
taking money from the school. I think
Yeah.
everyone he was going, sending them out to Westmore College, a
Sending them to Westmar.
Methodist school, a Methodist school. God help us. Anyway, go, but I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right. So yeah, I did my 2 years at Westmar, and I had had enough. I had had enough. Uh, Prior to this, there was a lot of disconnect. I had to sign papers as an emancipated minor when I was 16. Uh, my dad moved on, married this young girl, and had his life. My mom was dating and having a great time, and I was I had baby sisters, and they fit the role for her. My older brother, he had moved on. He got married. So I was like the odd man out. So yeah, I came back from my second year, found out the week before she had gone out, she got married, you know?
Your mom.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't wait for me to come home. I had learned while she was partying and doing all this, I had learned how to cook, and take care of the house and do all of these things. So it was kind of a shot, and when I came home, my room was gone. They were remodeling the house, and everything that I had was any part of my childhood was gone. They just cleared everything out. So there was this clean slate. And I looked at it as a pretty good thing, you know. Understand that, your parents do the best they can. There was no animosity. There was no one being vicious or anything like that. I was just a victim of circumstance, you know? And so I had no problem with it because, in having to have all these responsibilities from the age of 12, it made me strong, made me very independent, So didn't have family obligation, any of that kind of stuff. So it worked
You were
out fine.
terrific in school. I remember I was going to put one slideshow up with you, and I had that one picture of the two sculptures that we made.
Yes,
You're not in it, but I want to show people what you were doing and how you actually, there's two sculptures in there, one mine, one yours. You
yes.
actually made 1 3/4. I probably made a quarter of mine, but I remember like finals week, like the night before, you and Jim Farrell, your roommate,
Yeah, yeah.
another fine artist, you would make what, 10 paintings in the night or some
Oh,
stupid.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I had to crank that shit out like so
It
fast.
was amazing. And they were
Yeah,
all good. It was an amazing thing. Wow.
yeah. They weren't too bad.
They weren't bad at all. Remember, you're still a college student, still refining your art, man.
Well, finding out, because I had no encouragement, no background other than like my eighth grade art teacher back in parochial school, who sent me a wonderful card expressing how talented I was, but to understand that, art was 90% perspiration, 10% inspiration, and that it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work to make it happen. So that was the one encouraging thing I had, which was kind of cool.
Well, here, look, you see this thing behind me, this bike?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, it
You and I went
looks
to this. I did this for a final when I was taking sculpture.
right.
We went to a junkyard. We put this together in like 10, 15 minutes. I had a guy weld all pieces together, spray
Yeah.
painted black, and I got an A in that thing. I think it was the only A I got an A because I was doing shows. They liked what I was doing in the shows. But
Ah.
I've been carting this thing around since 72.
Man, I got nothing from my stuff kind of goes by the wayside. I remember I had a sculpture class there, and I had one of the guys in machine shop machine some plexiglass for me. I made a large rectangle about 2 inches deep, and I put mineral spirits and alcohol in it with food dye, and it made a slow motion ocean
This is in Iowa?
in Iowa.
Really?
Yes, it was a very, very cool piece. I had seen it at the Boston Museum of Science, and I wrote them, and they wrote back and said, "Oh, here's how you make it." So that was cool. I got an A for that one.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so did my second year of college, left there, still had no clue about who I was, what I wanted to do. So I joined the family business, which was pretty successful. My father had a machine shop, and I had always been very good with my hands. And we machined graphite. So imagine pencil lead up to 3 feet in diameter, 8 feet long.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. And you machine it. When you machine it, it turns into a fine powder.
It's like in the coal mines or something.
Yes. So every day I look like I just walked out of the freaking coal mine. So here I am, an artist, and my entire working life was shades of gray and black. That was what I went to every single day. Um, it was cool in the sense that we were working with places like
What
MIT,
were you
and
doing with the, I mean, what were you doing with the graphite?
graphite is machined. That graphite can withstand very, very, very high temperatures. So it's used to make exotic materials. They do what's called CVD, which is controlled vapor deposition. They put these chemicals inside of crucibles, or what they called retorts at the time, inside the furnace. This was all inside the furnace. Everything had to be made of graphite. And this stuff would precipitate and it would create these exotic materials. These were used for high-speed missiles as the lenses, used in a lot of aerospace applications. So it was kind of cool because we had scientists coming in, and they'd start drawing stuff, and I'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about, dude?" So it was kind of unique in that way, but I honed my skills there, learned how to weld. I started doing custom motorcycles, building trikes, customized motocross bikes. I raced motocross as an amateur while I was there. So, I found wonderful outlets, for my skills, and it kind of awakened things for me, So I learned a lot about metals, about, creating jigs and solving problems, Plus I learned all of my decimal equivalents, 1/16 is 0.0625.
I still don't know,
I,
you're
I
talking,
know them all.
but it
I got
sounds
them.
really good. Sounds
Yeah.
very impressive.
Yeah. So I did that. Then, being a good Catholic boy, I got my girlfriend pregnant. We got married, moved to a third floor walk up in Melrose, Massachusetts, and riding a bicycle Frankenstein was the name of the bicycle, as I got it from a junkyard. Uh, Bastarded together like 3 or 4 bikes, but if you ever let go of the handlebars, that thing took a right hand turn like you wouldn't believe. um, and just had a beautiful daughter born to us. And started making money, and it was not a bad job, but I hated it.
Wasn't
You
you,
know,
wasn't your passion?
it negated everything. I was trying to be the good American boy, striving for the American dream.
Well, were you doing
Um,
this for your parent, for your father?
yeah, well, my father ran the company.
I mean, is that what one of the reasons you wanted to do this for your dad?
No, actually, I did it because I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what my interests were. I had no exposure to the world. So and I was also very fearful. I was a very, very fearful child. My hatred for school, I was in constant state of anxiety. My mom brought me to doctors, to find out what is wrong with this, with what, why is he so sickly and all of this. I had such an incredible fear of life, Remember one time I thought, I'd really like to be a girl, not for the sex part, but because then I could be married, stay home, not have a job, but stay home and be safe, and cook and clean and do that kind of stuff, So it was, yeah, yeah, it was kind of a rough beginning, you know?
Okay, but things got better. Now you ended up in Iowa.
Yeah.
This guy from Boston. You left. You're doing with your dad. How long did that last?
That lasted, from, what was it, 1972 to 1980.
Wow, that's quite a stretch. 8 years, man.
It is quite a stretch. I still have tattoos. I can't see it, but I got
Nice.
graphite scarring in my hands, from doing that. Um, and in the process, I was buying and selling. We were buying and selling exotic cars. We always had side stuff. I told you before, I ran construction equipment. We'd buy like bulldozers, front end loaders, stuff like that. Would fix them up, paint them up, sell them. Started buying exotic cars, Lamborghini 350, Lamborghini 400, Lamborghini Miura, Ferrari Dino, Jaguar XKE, Bug Eye Sprites. I mean, we just would buy them, would play with them for a while, and would sell them.
And your dad, yeah, I guess he was terrific at doing this stuff. He taught you all of this stuff. I mean,
He had an amazing ability. One time we went to a junkyard and he bought this turbine engine, small turbine engine that was just part of junk. Brought it home. He welded up an aluminum stand for it with a control panel. And I remember him setting it up in the driveway of our house, and he fired this thing up. All right, this and kicks in the afterburner. This thing is a jet engine. He's kicking out a freaking flame 5 feet, whirring it at about 120 freaking thousand RPM, and moving the sled around along the driveway.
what happened to this jet engine? That's
He just put it aside. You know, he had all sorts of stuff. He was like me. He had 1,000 things he was doing. We built 3-point hydroplanes, you know, that we took up to a lake that my father had a lot on, and you know, spend the summer just zipping around in
Well,
these
he was a
freaking
pilot
hydroplanes.
too. Your dad was a pilot.
Yes, he was a pilot in World War II,
What did he fly?
and he continued flying.
What did he fly in
And
World War II?
he was flying in the Asian theater,
No, what kind of plane?
the Hellcat.
Oh,
He
okay.
was a
Was
Navy
your
pilot.
Navy? Navy, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He didn't do aircraft carriers. It was islands. He, you know, take off from solid ground.
Okay. Once they took over a place and they made their own.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd be there. And then after, you know, during the time of me being at Micromech was the company, he bought an old Navion, fixed it up, and we used to go flying in that. And I loved it. You know, you could do negative G's, positive G's. And the only time I was ever afraid in that plane was when it was flying over the ocean. And I have no idea why, but I was always deathly afraid when we'd go out and would be flying over the sea. You know, other than that, I had no problem with it.
Now did he teach you to fly him? Your
He helped me
instructor?
check out on later on in another Navion that he had bought. But no, I went to Revere Aviation and got my pilot's license there. And I had done motocross, you know, and stuff like this, and so I was very mechanical and I was good with machinery. So I learned to fly very quickly. You're required to have 40 hours. Well, after 20 hours, the guy's like, listen, I got nothing else to teach you. Let's just, you know, have some fun. So we'd go up to like this island sanctuary called Plum Island, and we'd have a contest to see who could drag the rear wheels on the beach longest.
Oh
Now,
my
mind you, if that front wheel touched the freaking sand, we
God.
were nosing over.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
He showed me taught me how to roll the airplane when there was a big sign in the back behind us that said, "Do not roll this aircraft."
Your
Because
own stuff.
this was all rental airplanes, little Piper Cubs.
Well, I was flying in Iowa. I'm telling you, it was my passion. I loved it. It was great.
I enjoyed it. Very crowded skies around New England. You know, that was the one thing. You had a lot of TCAs. We had Pease Air Force Base, you know, a few miles north of me. One time I got buzzed by a jet. I mean, that was, yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah, well, I was flying over and I'm putting along at 120. He pulls up. I'm at 8,000 feet. He was on me in like 30 seconds. Whoosh. I'm like, holy shit.
Now you had told me you had a little mishap.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's an amazing story if you want to go into this stuff.
If you'd like, I can give you the story.
I would love it. To me, it's
All
just
right. Well, the great thing is that you can anybody who says that's bullshit, they can research it, they can Google it, and they can find all the stuff that I'm talking
you
about.
wouldn't bullshit about something like this, Rick. If they don't believe
Now,
it, it's their problem. Don't worry.
some people had problem with it, but
Their problem. It's not your problem. It's not.
yeah, no, listen, it isn't. But 1975, February 22nd, it was it's a nice day. It was about probably 40 degrees out, sunny, no wind, and we had purchased another Navion. Now, Navion was a beautiful plane built by the Ryan Company, the guys that built the Spirit of St. Louis. So this thing was a model they built right after the Second World War. This thing was built strong. Had hydraulics, retracting
You know
landing
what?
gear.
You know what? I want to take that, but I want to put this picture up.
Okay, go ahead.
This was a picture of the plane that you owned, or the type of
Actually,
plane, the,
this is
the type of
not the
plane that you
particular
flew.
plane, but that is the plane.
Oh,
Yes.
this is the exact plane?
That is not the exact
This
plane.
is
That
what it
is
was.
identical.
Okay, and this is the plane that you had, not this particular plane, but the type of plane that you were flying when you had your little incident. All right,
Yes.
go. It was nice morning, 10,
Yeah,
10:30 in the
yeah, it was a
morning.
beautiful morning, February 22nd. About 10 o'clock, we took off from Beverly Airport, which is on the North Shore of Boston, and we were flying down to Plymouth. We had completely redone this airplane. We had a powerful motor, new prop, new paint job, interior. We had upgraded all of the electronics, and we were flying there to have the antennas that we had placed. We were getting them touched up by the guy that did the paint job. So we took off about 10 o'clock and headed south. And we were flying at an altitude of 1,500 feet. Now, we had to fly like across Logan Airport, Boston International Airport. And you can fly at either 1,500 feet or lower, or forget it. You have to do air traffic control. So we're at 1,500 feet. We didn't have to talk to them. And we're flying south, and we're about 8 to 10 miles from the South Shore, from the shoreline, and had a large bang. I mean, loud. Shook the whole plane, and the propeller started slowing down, and the engine over-revved. We blew the transmission to the propeller, and we were going down. The plane started slowing down, and we contacted Logan Airport, air traffic control, and told them this is Navion 5359 Kilo. We've lost power. We're going down. And luckily, we had put in what back then was a transponder for GPS. And this was only available in aircraft at the time. So he said, squawk 1200, which I dialed in and hit. And he goes, all right, I have you on radar. I will notify Air Sea Rescue on the Cape and give them your position. And I said, okay, that's great. And my father was doing the talking, and he was just having a very
You were
normal
flying the
conversation.
plane? You were
I
flying?
was flying. Yeah, I was in the left seat. And so he's just had a normal conversation. I remember the last transmission, the guy said, what's your altitude? And he goes, 300 feet. He said, all right, ESU rescue's on the way. And he goes, thank you. And what we did was I cracked the canopy open about 6 inches. So if on impact, if it jammed, we'll be able to release it. Stowed all the stuff in the back. And I mean, my heart is racing, dude. We're going down in the freaking ocean.